Pandemonium Reigns.
Volunteers hosted the UTSA Roadrunners on Saturday in Knoxville, Tennessee, in Neyland Stadium, and got right in the Get Right game. Final, Volunteers 45, Roadrunners 14. I'll summarize it this way. A lot of good came out of that game.
Yeah, I think so. Especially as long as Joe is okay from that weird hit that he takes in the end of the first half, and as long as Jalen Wright's okay, which I'm sure he was. Honestly, didn't look like a lot was there, but it looked like he had some stars probably going when he looked up after picking himself up there. So as long as those guys are okay, nothing really to complain about here. I did just find one complaint, but I'll save it for in just a minute. But yeah, Tennessee mostly got right. I think, especially the offense in the first half, they really weren't messing around all that much in the first half. It's obviously a lot of momentum when you go 80 yards on play number one. Can't argue the momentum that Tennessee gained on that play. And you love to see it if you're one of us.
Yeah, I do think that you can have plays in a season that can really impact the rest of the season. I am hoping that 81-yard rushing score by Joe is what sends us in a very upward trajectory very fast. I have one complaint that I can really think of, one strong complaint at least, is, as you mentioned, Joe gets banged up at the end of the first half and resumes play on the field to open the third quarter with a 31-14 lead. I'm not going to understand that. The game was not as close as the scoreboard indicated. I felt that we were very much in control. I don't know why that was necessary. Going forward, you're going to need more time for Nico just in case this does actually end up happening with Joe. If he does end up going down, I do think he is a little prone to injury, right?
Yeah.
But with that said, that's really my only complaint. I do want to stay on the Joe Milton conversation just for a moment, though, and not necessarily recant my words from the previous episode, but bring more clarity to it. I think Joe is the quarterback for the 2023 season. I don't think that is up for negotiation, nor do I think it needs to be up for negotiation. So the people who are on the bench Joe, put Nico in train, I think need to take a chill pill. Way too premature for that. I stick by my guns. I don't think Joe has got it between the ears. And here's where I think it's evident. Joe flexes a lot of talent, right? I mean, some of those balls that he threw, matter of fact, people are out to get him for that Chaz Nimrod overthrow. I think Chaz Nimrod could have put a little bit more of a greater effort. I wouldn't call that an overthrow. If you're going to do that to Joe, you need to do that to Hendon Hooker on that drive going at the end of the first half against Florida where Ramel Keaton has to lay out for it. I mean, same ball. Okay.
Basically. Yeah.
So, but here's where I will criticize Joe. The offense doesn't operate on all cylinders under Joe. And it shows when he constantly has to say, whoa, let's get the right play in or whatever. We didn't really see Hendon do all that. I mean, yes, he did it inevitably. It's going to happen, but not to the level that we're seeing it with Joe against some of the competition we're seeing Joe do it against. I think Joe is the guy. He's got all the skill sets. I mean, he's got 8 touchdowns right now. He's got 1 pick. The pick was really bad. I am okay with the argument that he was getting hit as he's thrown in that Florida game on that pick. I'll accept that argument. I don't know that I buy it, but I'll accept it. Nonetheless, I don't think that Joe can operate this offense at its highest potential level. A lot of good came out of Saturday, but that's where I'm a critic against Joe.
Yeah. Couple things. I don't think Joe can operate at its highest level with this offensive line. I'll give him that.
That's a really fair point.
But I'm with you. It's disturbing to me that we just don't see a ton of chemistry. Okay, here's what I mean. We see the horizontal pass game for days and days and days. We see, about a shot or two per game. You had the one to Brew against Florida You had the touchdown to Ramel. You had the pass down the sideline to Squirrel where it was arguably a pick play. And then you see some things like the touchdown to Ramel in this game. But think about and obviously they're special players. This is where it's unfair, but think about the chemistry that Hendon had with Cedric. Think about the chemistry that picked right up when Cedric went down, what he had, the connection he had with Hyatt all season long, or really maybe if you want to say starting the LSU game, the chemistry that he had with him from that point on, it's not there. And Joe has thrown with these guys for a long time. But again, the only waiver that I'm willing to give him right there is this offensive line is just not playing well. I'll stand by my point that I made, previewing this game, is that we'll see if it improves when Cooper's back. If Cooper gets back, is Cooper still on the team? Like, where's Cooper? We'll see. We'll see where it's at that time. But it's not there right now. The one to Nimrod, if I'm not mistaken, it was getting a little hectic in that pocket. He might have even stepped up into it and had
threw a great ball.
Yeah, he threw a great ball for the scenario that it was. Yeah. But that's what's most disturbing to me with how long all these guys have been in the offense.
That's fair. I think you make a great point against the potential of our offensive line. They're not as good. I mean, obviously, Hendon had Darnell Wright. Hendon was playing with Cooper Mays. Joe's playing with neither one of those guys.
Yep.
And I mean, the offensive line is decent, but you can this offense will mask a deficient offensive line if you run the tempo.
Yeah.
But we're not running the tempo. I mean, we do, but for whatever reason, it's slowing down and halting under Joe. And I don't know why. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know the reason why. All I know is it's not happening. Yep. And I'm afraid that we get into a shootout with a South Carolina, and that's a shootout we could potentially lose, especially if we don't run tempo. I don't necessarily like our offense if we don't run tempo because, as you're saying, with the offensive line, it's not a good offensive line. It's not a good offensive line. But if you run tempo, you can mask it.
Exactly. And I can't wait to preview later this week the Tennessee South Carolina game because I've got questions about the tempo level in year one of this era and offense versus year two versus I don't even know if I want to say versus year three. I think I just want to say versus no Cooper Mays because it's just I think it's proving that he is the perfect leader of your offensive line in this offense. I think he absolves so many of these issues that we have right now, and I'm not even talking about just from protection or from a running the ball perspective. I'm talking about tempo and getting the offensive line set. He is dang good at it.
Yeah.
And let's be fair here as well. Ollie Lane never snapped the ball before this season.
Oh, for sure.
I don't even know what his ceiling is at if he's playing left guard, which is I think where he was more projected if Cooper had been healthy. But I want to be fair to Ollie Lane and be fair to, where the offensive line recruiting has been before this era started, because that's really what we're running into. It's not just one person or one area that is for the reason I think that Tennessee's in this position, but it's obviously showing its ugly head. And that's unfortunate because we had a lot of faith, a lot of trust in that unit, especially from last year.
Yeah, and maybe the offense not firing on all cylinders and running tempo is way more Cooper than it is Joe.
Maybe,
but the only way we're going to find out is if Cooper returns. But I mean, does he even exist anymore? Is he a real person?
If I hadn't seen him on the sideline Saturday, I wouldn't have thought so because this is crazy, man. I mean, I understand that he was cut on. I understand that it was a hernia, but boy, I don't like anyone in media for Tennessee, or I don't like Heupel's comments on this. I don't like anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
I understand it if he's not able to go, and I don't want him to hurt himself anymore because he don't need that. And football is already going to take such a toll on your life. But
right,
I'm not a fan of any one bit of this whole saga right now. And I just, I don't know where exactly to point the finger. But it's probably most on those that said, "Oh, we'll see if he can go. We'll see, where he's at. He's a game time decision." That's probably where I have the biggest issue because it's been clear, or it's got to be clear at this point if he's not been in there as tough as he is.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, who knows? And I guess that's my one complaint that I have one of two complaints that I really have with Josh Heupel is overall his management of quarterbacks. I mean, if Joe doesn't get hurt in 21, what happens to Hendon Hooker?
Yeah.
And this, you just don't, I mean, nothing on Christian Charles. Nothing.
Yeah.
It's almost like he doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So just the coach speak in that regard. Okay. I mean, tell us, and don't say the words, so that way he can be 100% by Florida.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. My other complaint that I was going to mention for this game, and I'm already kind of backing off of this just a little bit because he was really quick getting the ball out. But it's with the backup quarterback coming in for UTSA. This is twofold. We saw Joe come back in the game when we were up 31-0. It was 31-0. That injury happened in the first half. Put Nico in, man. If you win the game close because you're not doing much offensively, do that. But, we didn't, and that's one thing. And Joe really struggled for like a full quarter after that hit that he took. Like he was pretty good. And then he misses like 7 of 8 or 9 of 10 or even more before he starts kind of clicking a little bit again.
Yeah.
Not happy about that at all.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, like if he takes another hit to that knee and it puts him out for a month or the rest of the season, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Right.
And then, Owen McCown, which is crazy, seeing some of these players that we grew up watching have kids in college, looking at the Sanders family, looking at the McCown family, all those guys. It's really happened in baseball a lot. He comes in and he goes 18 of 20, which again, we didn't prep for him. He's obviously got a pretty great understanding of the game and high IQ, but he goes 18 of 20. His one incompletion was an interception, which is okay, but he was super, super clean in the short game. And perhaps we're just giving them all the short stuff they want. I'm not really in the benefit of the doubt mood with our secondary, but whatever, all I'm saying is if we try to do that with South Carolina, that'll cause major run after the catch problems for us.
Oh, for sure. I love that you mentioned that little 0 for 8 span that Joe went through. You do that against South Carolina and you could be staring at a loss.
And you could be looking at it like a 14 or a 21 point run for South Carolina to 0, to be clear.
For sure. Absolutely. All right. Well, that's enough on Joe. Let's talk about the running game a little bit. I guess just the rest of the offense in general.
Yeah. Don't
want to get bogged down in this game. Dylan Sampson had a day. Was electric with the ball in his hands. You mentioned the Jalen Wright seeing stars, 4 for 16. Jabari Small, I thought ran well, 9 for 61, had a long of 40 that ended up resulting in a score. But in the rushing department, it was obviously Dylan Sampson's day, which has brought clarity to his cheetah post on his Instagram account. Again, This is where Vol Nation just needs to chill the heck out. He basically laughed at it. He's like, that's my favorite animal.
Yeah.
Anyway, Cameron Seldon had a bonehead move of a play resulting in a turnover. Like, just leave the ball alone. I wanted to touch a bit on the receiving core. Just two things. A couple things. We saw early action, didn't see late action, which was great because it gave some snaps to Caleb Webb. I don't understand our rotation process. Not for receivers. I'm talking about for anybody.
Yeah.
I don't get it for any position group. But it was good for Caleb Webb. Caleb Webb ended up getting a score out of that. Dante Thornton is obviously not who we thought he was.
Nope.
I regret picking him up in that little fantasy draft that we did. Ramel Keaton got a score, 1 for 48 and a touchdown. Squirrel White, Joe likes Squirrel. I think it's obvious.
Yes, he does.
I think that's obvious. Pretty good stuff on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, you put up 45.
Yeah, and let's whereas we complained about twofold, catching, ball placement, those two things against Austin Peay. We didn't really see those issues. In fact, we didn't see many issues, honestly, offensively, minus the minor things with the offensive line. In this case, or minor accuracy and touch things from Joe until he took that shot. And again, it was ugly. I mean, I thought he was done there for a minute when he was laying on the ground. But yeah, Thornton, not who we thought he was, and that's really unfortunate because I think he, like Joe, has worlds of potential, worlds of speed.
Absolutely.
He's got that, and he's not a small guy, so it's really unfortunate because he could be a go up and get it guy. He should be a fierce run after the catch guy, and he's not that right now. I don't know if this means perhaps that we could get a second year of him, or he's not going pro right now. So what I'm saying is he going to stay around and really buy in, because it looks like that might be what he needs to do. And then again, we texted about this during the game, but I liked the aggression from some of the guys after the catch. Squirrel, Brew, you always love what he does after the catch, and just give the ball to the guy. He's so fierce with it. But Squirrel and Brew, really some props to them after the catch, doing some nice things. And again, not the issues that we saw against Austin Peay, whatever they were in that game.
Oh yeah. I mean, for sure. Just on Dante Thornton before we move on is, he had a really crucial drop. You're like, wait a second, 45-14 win. Well, his drop ends up in a 3 and out for Nico, when Nico really could have used those snaps. And
exactly.
I mean, looked like it was a hitch or a curl of some sorts. Anyway, put right in his numbers, puts the ball on the ground. Going forward with this stretch that we're about to hit, South Carolina, A&M, Alabama, you better catch that ball.
Yeah, you have to.
Defensively, I thought our front played exceptionally well, especially with guys like Amari Thomas. I think Norman Lott has been a great addition in the transfer portal. We're seeing the effects of him, which, speaking of go back to offensive line for a second, we better be hitting that thing hard.
Oh, yeah, man.
For offensive linemen next go around. But anyway, I thought our front played well. Tyler Barron is having a good year.
Yes, he is.
I like what we're getting out of him. Again, already mentioned Amari Thomas, and Aaron Beasley just kind of continues to be that dude. With that said, Arian Carter, I thought, looked a little bit lost at times.
Yeah. It looks like he might really be swimming in the deep end, really struggling to move out there sometimes.
Yeah.
I wonder what some of the negative plays that he was in on in the swamp last week. I wonder what kind of toll they take mentally versus the progress that he might have been making before that. Worry about some of that stuff. But I'm certainly glad to have him. We're going to need more guys like him. But yeah, he's struggling a little bit more than we thought we might see from the things we heard coming in camp. Also want to just highlight, because I think we're starting to see where if you listen really closely, you heard that Jackson Ross might be a weapon in the special teams game, and he kind of was that Saturday.
Yeah, he had a good Saturday.
Yeah, there's not going to be many returns against him unless he really just goes back to some of those issues or making mistakes. We've seen him kick the ball short out of bounds. We've seen him do some other things really wonky, but he had 6 punts on Saturday, 3 downed inside the 20. And he just gives so much time for the coverage unit to get down the field in the crazy style that he has. So I really like to see that come along, especially in times when our offense isn't what it has been at times.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I'm totally agreeing with what you're saying. That was a really unfortunate drop by Thornton on Nico's drive. It would have been really close to a first down, and us moving the ball and getting to see Nico. And then a really unfortunate move, like you said, from Selden on special teams there. And boy, we got to dive into the portal this year. Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, sorry, I threw a lot of content right there.
You're good.
I'll keep this next one simple. Let's talk about Jeremiah Thielander for a second, and that garbage booty. What was it? What was the flag against him? It was so dumb.
It was a late hit.
It extended a drive for them, did it not?
Unnecessary roughness or some crap. It looks like he was getting himself out of a situation, is what it looked like, not like stirring something up. Officiating has been, like, I also text you this, officiating is really killing my deep love for the sport, not in Tennessee games, in every game. You had Nico getting his face twisted around, clear face mask, ref looking right at it. Not that it matters in a 45-14 game, but again, all things that are killing drives that he could be in on. There were several other moments, across the sport, like there are every week, And it looks like they're just overthinking everything. Maybe they made changes. Maybe they were changes to how they want certain things to be called, and they're way in over their head trying to make those decisions right now.
That's possible, but there's some calls that you just make.
Yeah.
So I want to reference the Bama game for a second. Browns are over at the house. There is a clear hold on the left tackle, and the ref is standing right in front of it. Hey, there's holding on every play. But that was a very impactful hold. That was an impactful face mask in my mind. Maybe not on the outcome of the game, but for, again, the future of Nico. And there's some, it wasn't a gentle face mask. He didn't know. He turned the thing around.
Yeah.
Whatever. But anyway, so 2 calls right there that bothered me. On the topic of officiating and flags, coming back to Ollie Lane for a second, that's your second snap infraction, dude.
Yeah.
So is he just the best option? I don't know. I don't really want to come back and just kind of be all over the place, but we've got to clean up pre-snap penalties going into this SEC stretch.
Yes. We absolutely have to. And, again, not to go too far back down that rabbit hole, but the other guys, I'm even struggling to remember their names right now, but they're not ready, which is just hard to believe with the drop-off that we have to Ollie Lane that, whether it's – I can't even tell you who it's supposed to be playing center behind him, but that's how much –
preseason we thought it was going to be like an Addison Nichols.
Addison Nichols, there it is. That he's not ready yet somehow to do this, and I think that's where a lot is put on our center more than just snapping the ball. It's setting the tempo. It's maybe having the other guys know why is Joe stopping all these snaps? I think it's largely to do with the offensive line knowing what's going on. So we've got to get better there. We've got to develop so much more depth there. And again, I think we need to live in the portal with maybe whatever we bring in from high school, bring in that many from the portal, and you better hope that it's better in 2024. It's going to be a problem.
You got to create competition for that group. 24 is going to be a real problem with that position group, unless Nico can run the tempo when we can get going. Again, I don't want to beat a dead horse there, but again, used a get right game to get right. All is not lost. The sky is not falling. The world is not on fire. Everything is not hellfire and brimstone coming out of Knoxville. Joe Milton, listeners, is not Hendon Hooker. He's not. But at the same time, you don't need to bench the guy.
Exactly.
It's just outlandish. But, I've got positive feelings coming out of the game. Really do. Got a lot of positive things that we've already mentioned. But what am I trying to say here? I think some of the most positive things is, you almost hung a 50 burger. You got down to your third string running back who's electric. We didn't put balls on the ground as far as drops like that. Hopefully that was a week 1, week 2 thing, and that's gone. Ramel, his touchdown catch was pretty contested.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So good on his part. I will say this though, as good as I feel coming out of that game, and I know it's UTSA, I'm not confident going into South Carolina.
Certainly not as confident as Vegas is, and I don't know what they're doing there with it being a 10-11 or maybe even up to 13 in some places. Favorite in Tennessee's favor, I don't even know, man. That just blows my mind. I'd bet South Carolina all day on that as of right now. It is a night game. All the stops will probably be pulled out, especially from the fan base wanting to personally avenge that loss from last year. I think it'll be an amazing 2021 Ole Miss top atmosphere. I think could be in store, especially if Tennessee does anything early. But not in the most confident spot right now.
Yeah. So let me just ask you this: regarding the Vols, what did this UTSA teach you about them?
It taught me that it reinforced that Joe has to be a willing runner. He just absolutely has to.
Great point.
And that this offense maybe won't be breaking scoreboards or, the most efficient, but that it has that in its pocket. even if it's a lot of let's throw it horizontally. Maybe we're saving again. Maybe there's some things that are being saved until Cooper gets back or whatever. But there is some efficiency in this offense from at least throwing and catching the ball that we've not quite seen yet to this point of the year. So This was probably right up there with Virginia for your most efficient game of the year offensively. I mean, it wasn't there against Austin Peay. It obviously wasn't consistent in the Swamp. So you at least got back to some of that you saw in week 1, and you got to build on it.
Okay. Let me throw another one at you. You probably hate me for these prizes. Fill in the blank. Tim Banks is?
Man, I don't know. I don't know what Tim Banks is.
That's why I asked you the question, because I don't know either.
Yeah.
What's the freaking verdict on Tim Banks? We felt really good out of him with the 21 season.
Yeah. Because, when you don't have a full cupboard or a half full cupboard, why not be aggressive? And it caused a lot of negative plays. And it got beat a lot on third down, just like that's been a theme. So what he is long term, dude, I've got nothing for you. I don't know. And I hate to be that way, but to me, as of right now, 4 games in, a third of the way through year 3, if it's hard for me not to see that everyone but Rodney Garner is on a bit of a hot seat, especially if third down issues persist, secondary issues are as consistent as they were in years 1 and 2 and parts of weeks 1 through 3. Rodney Garner's group, man, they've shown serious growth and signs of life. But everybody else, I'm worried for you. Maybe the linebackers, I like what we've added there. Maybe Brian John Marie is safe, but Martinez and Banks, dude, I just don't know, man. And listen, you had Derek Mason interviewing for the job in the broadcast on Saturday. I don't know if you caught it, but he was pouring the praise on Tennessee.
No, he was one of those that I was not going to give any, I'm not going to let you come through my TV speaker. I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it.
Yeah, I didn't do it until after Alabama and Ole Miss had ended, but he was pouring the love on Tennessee. And again, it's just hard for me to think that a lot of those guys are on thin ice, or they should be on thin ice.
Yeah, I agree. I think if I'm going to answer my own question, I think you have to say Tim Banks has got to be willing to let it loose. This whole sitting back and letting it come to you thing, I just don't know that that's working. We saw a full season of it. Okay, yeah, it got us to 10-2. However, with a guy like Spencer Rattler, don't do that. I think you got to go get him. I think you have to. I think if you put a lot of pressure on him, you force him to become Baker Mayfield-esque and just impossible to go down, and he's not that.
No.
He's not that. You can get a hand on him. Baker Mayfield, you just couldn't get a hand on him.
Mm-hmm.
So just using this game as an example, go get him. Go get him. And if you know what, if he throws a 60 bomber on you, he throws a 60 bomber on you. All right. Take the risk. Challenge that offensive line who is susceptible to these things. Here I go. I'm already in preview mode.
Okay.
But I'm just basically using it as an example. I don't care who it is. Go get him. Just send 5. I don't think you need to be sending 5 at least every play. We just don't do this sitting back in zone thing very well. And if zones, if we're not going to cover those well, and you know what, Kamal Hadd's not going to turn his head, just go get him. Go get aggressive.
Yeah. And the thing is, this year especially, we're not a good enough tackling team to sit back on anything. We've tackled so much better in other years, and it's obviously bit us in moments in the first 2 years of the staff, but we're not a good enough tackling team at all to sit back and let it come to us.
Sure.
And like we're just all over it. The offense is not good enough to, okay, you're going to drive the field. Well, we're going to hit you with a bomb right here and tie it up or take the lead back. We're not that team. So
that's a great point. Yeah. Our offense is not that. Our offense can't do that.
Yeah.
This
show us the aggression. Send to Marion McDonald, send Wesley Walker, send a corner, do the things that we used to see. Love what I'm seeing from McDonald, by the way. He's really starting to be consistent and flourish, I think, and he's among a small handful of guys that are doing it in the secondary. So use him, find ways to show me some Theo Jackson out there. Keep that, if you're going to keep it in front of you got to bring them down.
Agreed. Totally agree. But I love your point about the offense. Just, this is not the 22 offense. the DNA to beat us was exercised by Florida, right? Well, we already know that you're not going to win the time of possession battle, but we're going to impact that even more. We're going to put a long drive together. So you know what? Defensively, just let it be a short drive regardless. You either get a 3 and out or something short like that, or you know what? Okay, you get beat. It's already happening.
Yeah.
It's already
100%.
happening. So
yeah.
Anything else, my man?
Dude, all I'll say is I can't wait to preview this game Saturday. I can't wait. I'm going to have a countdown setting up to preview that game. And I'm not saying it's going to be that positive for Tennessee's favor. I'm just saying I can't wait to talk about it.
Man, I'm nervous about this one. Nervous about this one.
Yep.
Well, while you also, as a volunteer, sit in your anxieties and nervousness, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. That will at least put us to a little bit of ease. We do this for free. Go ahead and press the button. We sure do appreciate you hanging out with us wherever you are on this fine day, in your car, in your speakers, in your ears, wherever you've got on the show. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So with that said, I'm Dan. He's Mike. We love you guys. God bless. Go Vols.
QBO.